Bitcoin suffers its steepest crash since the election in early November, and speculation grows surrounding which altcoins will be next to get an ETF in the US. We cover all this right now in the Collective Shift weekly recap, actionable insights and a breakdown into the crypto market, all in under 30 minutes. Nick, we're crawling to the finish line here as a market.
Yeah, it's unexpectedly, a lot of news still coming out. So I'm getting the feeling that a lot of projects are kind of just trying to keep the momentum while it's still, here in crypto. Well, up until this week when the prices were up. So excited to see a lot of announcements coming out. And as you said, I think all the focus is going to be now on ETF. Even keen talking, maybe next year when we get into our 2025 predictions, because that was a big one from Bitwise. They talked about expecting a lot of ETF action into next year, actually expecting it to be bigger than 2024, which is, if that comes true, really think we're in for a big year.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get up on the screen here. As you can see, it's a bit of a down week for crypto. It was, I guess, inevitable in a sense. You couldn't continue that strong momentum since the election. As you can see on your screen here, got Bitcoin down 11% in the past 7 days, ETH down nearly 20%. Same with Solana there. Dogecoin down nearly 25% for the past 7 days. So yeah, it was late in the week. What instigated this most recent sell-off? Again, there was the momentum and just natural profit taking we would expect. But I suppose what really accelerated that and brought it forward was the Federal Reserve's interest rate decision end of last week. So as expected, rates fell by 25 basis points. So that wasn't really anything shocking. But what did surprise the market a bit was, surprised the market was that the Fed or central bank is now projecting less interest rate cuts next year than what they'd previously anticipated. So yeah, aiming for around 2 interest rate cuts for 2025 rather than something like 3. So again, they're really putting out the signal that inflation is not managing to be as easy to control in terms of keeping inflation really down at that desired 2% inflation rate. And all the while, the employment market or the unemployment is also something the US is keeping a very close eye on. So US economy ticking along quite healthily, all things considered, but I suppose they're not in an environment where they're happy to really cut rates aggressively. So that's what, people would describe as a hawkish sort of statement or press conference from Jerome Powell. And yeah, that really sent stock markets sliding down after that news. And that eventually carried it over and trickled into crypto after it was holding resistant for a bit. But altcoins in particular got, really smashed after that news.
And how did the, inflows go? I know we had I think it was a 10th consecutive week of inflows. Is that now officially over? It was just such strong, demands coming in from a lot of institutional players into the market the last few weeks.
Yeah, for sure. We got ETF for Bitcoin in particular, the spot ETF. We had net outflows, so ending that 10th consecutive week there. So yeah, Bitcoin had about 2 billion. And ETH had about 1 billion in their 7th consecutive week of gains. So yeah, it was great, but it's looking like that's coming to an end there, which again was just consistent with the price action. So we'll talk about ETFs in a bit, but before then, Bitcoin itself showing some more, I suppose, people wanting to snap up the sell-off.
Yeah, this is probably the biggest thing to find 2024 for me was the huge amount of demand side pressure for Bitcoin from the likes of MicroStrategy, but now some of the other miners who are starting to not only just get exposure by Bitcoin, in that mining element, but then buying more through issuing debt and whatnot. So MicroStrategy, they come out and bought another 1.5 billion worth of Bitcoin. So that's another 15,000 Bitcoin. I'm not sure, Matt, how much they're totally added in 2024, but surely it's going to be something to the tune of more than 100,000 Bitcoin, because now they own, I think, that 2% of the Bitcoin supply. Famously, they're trying to target to get 4% of that Bitcoin supply, I think. So who knows where they're going to be next year, but huge demands coming. I'm hearing talks though about potentially, short-term relief from the Bitcoin buying from MicroStrategy, just due to, shutdowns that happen in this time with the US stock markets, and there's some, delays that they can't really buy as much as they may have want to start of Jan. Do you know if there's any, truth to that, or is that just kind of fake news or not really true?
I had a bit of a look around about this, at the end of last week, and I wasn't able to find anything confirming that MicroStrategy was going to have a blackout period where they're not able to, say, issue more debt to buy Bitcoin or issue more shares as they've been doing recently. So it may be true. I haven't seen anything to confirm that though. I did note that in January of this year, they did purchase Bitcoin. So it's just a matter of whether they've changed policies. But yeah, that blackout period is something to watch. If it does apply and MicroStrategy isn't able to buy Bitcoin in January next year, there's speculation they may even buy more aggressively in the back half of this month. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how the market reacts to that, which normally we would say it's not really a big factor, but only because of MicroStrategy being an outlier and such an influential, I suppose, factor driving the price of Bitcoin, I think it does deserve some attention.
The other big one, I think, was these Bitcoin miners that we talked about. So Marathon and then Hut 8, I think they purchased over about 1.6 billion worth of Bitcoin in the latest market dip. So it's about 16,000 Bitcoin, which is the equivalent of 37 days of Bitcoin issuance. So this is probably the thing that goes over a lot of people's head. We hear the big number of people buying Bitcoin, but it's essentially just that the demand is far outstripping this supply. There's only so much Bitcoin that was issued, especially with the halving that happened in, early Q1 of this year, which kind of feels like a lifetime ago, Matt. I'm not sure how you feel about that, but honestly, I can't believe the halving was just this year. But, this demand side pressure is so enormous for Bitcoin. And that's pretty much the bull case for Bitcoin heading into 2025, because I'm expecting continued demand, especially if Bitcoin starts to sit around this price action. Maybe it could ease off once we start to get in those mid, 150,000 figure, and we start to see at what price people are maybe wanting to sideline their Bitcoin and wait for a lower dip, but huge amount of, demand still flowing into the biggest cryptocurrency in the market.
Yeah, for sure. Marathon, one to keep an eye on. Now the second largest publicly traded Bitcoin holder. So, at the end of the day, they're still about 10% of what MicroStrategy holds. But, as a company, they now own around 45,000 Bitcoin, which is certainly, certainly not a small amount and looking to only continue that. So yeah, one to look forward to in 2025 to buy more Bitcoin. Okay, next bit of news here we've got is Kraken and BitGo. So distributing the next FTX payment. So yeah, we did cover this recently. People were sort of waiting for timeframes of, hey, when will these old customers or creditors actually get their claims? It looks like the first group has been confirmed, could see their recoveries coming as early as January. So about 60 days from January the 3rd. So is when the first sort of group will be getting their claims. As we covered at the time, I think a few months ago, any predictions of how much will hit the market in terms of what we mean by that is people get their money back, how much of that is going back into buying cryptocurrency with the cash that they're getting. As we explained a few months ago, that figure we've seen is very vastly overstated. By no means you should be expecting a $1 of going back into buying crypto. For a lot of reasons we've explained, it's very likely to be less than half of the actual total billions of dollars coming back to FTX creditors, for reasons we've explained in the past. But overall, still, I think it still ends up being something around $4 to $6 billion US worth going back to creditors, from memory. Not all probably in this initial, batch, but overall, 4 to 6 billion if that is to come back into the market, that would be quite significant, especially if some of it is more so for the altcoins as well. But yeah, one to look forward to there with the FTX redistributions. But some adoption here from Deutsche Bank, Nick, in a big German bank.
Yeah, I was really excited to see this story come out. There was talks about Deutsche Bank, which was one of the biggest banks in Germany, that they would be building an Ethereum L2 using ZK Sync sort of technology. This was kind of revealed earlier in the year in something called Project Dharma, and now we're coming out with more confirmation with a Bloomberg report that came out. It's kind of shedding more light on what this may actually look like. So we kind of hear that this was something that threw me, Matt. It was actually being called, quote, a public and permissioned L2. So that kind of confused a lot of people in terms of, is this what the future is? How can you have both a public and a permissioned? Isn't all this blockchain stuff meant to be permissionless? So essentially what this means is that Deutsche Bank obviously has kind of AML, KYC requirements that they'll be adding an extra layer on the ZK Sync stack that's ultimately settled back to Ethereum. So it looks like only authorized parties will be able to participate, and there'll be some sort of whitelisting going on here. But I think the public element is that everyone can still see what happens on the chain, and you can see that track record on the ledger. But then it's the permission nature of it that, there may be some whitelist element going on. So this is kind of huge, especially that they're building on Ethereum. Really excited to see if we see more of the biggest, companies in the world doing something very similar. I think everyone's eyes now, to be honest, is looking at BlackRock. There's been a lot of people with a bit of hopium talking about BlackRock creating an L2. Now, this is, I think, what it would look like if they ever did decide to do something like that. So I'm really excited to see, will next year be the year we start to see a few more of these banks, creating their own L2 environments? Because at the end of the day, they have more, reporting compliance measures that they probably just can't build directly on, Ethereum itself per se. So still a pretty notable story, and I'm really excited to see what that looks like into 2025.
Yeah, certainly. And connected to the Ethereum ecosystem again, which is great to see. Last one here, we've got, ETF speculation about, which altcoins are coming next. I think this will just be a continued narrative heading into next year. As we said, the change of administration with Trump being elected has now gotten people a lot more confident there will be more different altcoins, approved for spot ETFs in the US. Now that, Gary Gensler is on his way out at the SEC, who's the entity, or the agency who approves or rejects ETF applications. So as we talked about recently, this will likely continue, being a talking point throughout the year. We got some updates in a sense, last week in terms of just, adding to the speculation of which ones could be next. Eric Balchunas from Bloomberg, who's, been covering ETFs full time for, 20 or so years. He's saying that Bloomberg is expecting a wave of cryptocurrency ETFs next year, albeit not all at once. He's saying here a combination of Bitcoin and Ethereum ETFs, like a combination ETF, would likely be first. He says, Litecoin is likely the next one, and then Hedera, so HBAR, the token there. And then he's even saying XRP and Solana could be after that. So that's Bloomberg sort of, speculation on what could be next. They've been rather pretty solid overall in terms of their predictions, famously for the past 18 months, really. So when they sort of talk, people listen. As we've talked about, I think the big nuance here, I suppose, for anyone listening, wondering how important all this stuff is, in my opinion, the most it's very simple, really. The most important variable at play here is whether or not BlackRock actually applies for one of these altcoin ETFs. That would, in my opinion, really legitimize any altcoin, whichever one it is. I think it's very likely in 2025 we see a lot of altcoin, spot altcoin ETF applications from various smaller asset managers, even crypto native ones like Bitwise. But unless it's either BlackRock and then arguably Van Eck, which is even a bit more, I suppose, innovative and a bit more, I guess, progressive in trying to, list stuff earlier. But BlackRock in particular is almost like the big daddy that you want to. If an altcoin ETF comes from BlackRock next year, I would be surprised in terms of an application. And I'd be very happy if it does come, but I just don't really see it happening yet. We saw BlackRock, for what it's worth, someone higher up, at BlackRock last week, as I go up my screen here, did say last week that BlackRock is focusing just on marketing their Bitcoin ETFs and Ethereum ETFs for the foreseeable future. I'll get the quote up on my screen here, which was also from Eric Balchunas, just saying that they're really just at the tip of the iceberg and they're more so focused on their ETF products that they've launched for Bitcoin and ETH rather than spending their time focusing on launching new altcoin ETFs. So whether you take that at face value or, hey, it may turn out not to be true, or there's a possibility they may even shift focus where, from what he says at the moment, they may change course. So that's just a note there that I thought was worth mentioning.
Yeah, a lot of action packed there, maybe on a lot of altcoin names. I noticed we got a lot of updates. I think they're all just trying to strike while the iron's hot, to be honest, Matt. not holding back any of these announcements throughout the last couple of weeks, and really keen to see if this continues over the new year, or maybe they won't take a break and just keep the bull market going while still we are. Avalanche, though, I saw was a huge one that probably went under the radar in a way, because I wasn't sure how much it was reflected in the price or what as much publicity as you would have expected. We talked about a major raise they had last week, but they finally released their Avalanche 9000, which was a major upgrade that slashed a lot of the costs for deploying new networks on the L1. Have you been following this one, Matt? Probably something that moves the needle quite a bit for Avalanche, really. They're moving away from subnets and now I think just really trying to target, that SUI new wave of people looking for more L1s in the market.
Yeah, it seems like a bit of a rebranding or just a changing of their language as well as some fundamental sort of architectural changes. But I think Avalanche was always confusing a lot to people with their three blockchains that they had, like P chain, C chain, and the third one as well. And then you also had subnets launching on top of Avalanche. I haven't looked as deeply into what the architectural changes are for this, but they're saying that it's now going to cost 99.9% cheaper to launch. They're now phrasing them as L1s or layer ones launching on Avalanche. So whether it's more of like a Cosmos hub style approach, it seems they're going that way. But I've been hearing about this Avalanche 9000 for a while now, so it's great to see them hit it and deploy it on mainnet before the year was out. And the Avalanche Foundation here saying that there are hundreds of Avalanche layer ones like in the works that are launching. So we'll have to see them. A lot of them you'd hope would be coming out early next year to make the most of the bull market. And yeah, I guess it's a renewed sense of focus and attention coming on the Avalanche ecosystem.
Yeah, keen to see how they compete with the waves of L1s that are coming up. We're probably going to be talking about in a few moments. But before we get into that, ENS is one that I was following a lot. One that I continue to be really excited about, mostly because of how difficult it was to use and the high gas costs. That really struggled, I think, its adoption in the market. So they come out and they said in the last month that they'll be building an Ethereum L2. I think it was announced back at DevCon, which is going to be called Namechain. But then they come out, I think this week, and announced that they'll be building this on the linear consensus MetaMask built network. So this is huge. I kind of expected them to go to optimism, to be honest. So I was really shocked to see, that they went this route. But hopefully we start to see this mainnet hit in about, end of 2025. Although I think that's almost too optimistic. We'll have to wait and see, but really could do wonders for ENS if it's actually able to, transfer the names to these new networks and make it sub-cent registration costs. Because at the end of the day, I'm not sure anyone who's really going to pay $30 in gas costs, to change their name or to register a new name on chain. Tough user experience. So hopefully that can be a catalyst for ENS heading into 2025.
Yeah, certainly. Speaking of new chains launching, various projects in 2024 either launched new chains or announced that they were going to launch new chains. One of them, arguably the poster child for that this year, was Uniswap announcing Uni Chain. So they did announce that in October, and they did update on December 21st with a roadmap. There was a lot of people had been expecting this to launch maybe November or December, but it looks like, I guess that was just speculation. And now we've got confirmation of that it will be in early 2025. So, for me, I would read that as January or February, but I think safer to probably just assume that that's Q1. And it's going live in a with permissionless fault proofs from day one as well, which is, again, just making it as trustless and I guess as reliable as possible, for lack of a better term. So that's going to be really exciting, with Uniswap also poised to release Uniswap v4 imminently as well. So a big few months for ENS, of course, as you said, Nick. Also, Uniswap will be, really hitting the headlines, I think, over the next few weeks.
Yeah, a bit of a sneak preview, Matt. I'm probably going to be writing to members about Uniswap in my 2025 look ahead posts that we do as a team every single year. Just so much on the horizon that I'm really excited to see if they can take back some of the market share they may have lost from the likes of Jupiter and all these other DeFi applications over the last year. Maybe staying in the Solana ecosystem then. I saw Punji Penguins launch their Pengu token. I got an airdrop luckily because they look like they rewarded a lot of, I think, original Solana accounts and then also Ethereum accounts and addresses and wallets. How do you feel about this one, Matt? Were you able to get the airdrop yourself?
Yeah, it was, again, never really had anything to do with the Pudgy Penguins ecosystem. I've always looked on from the sidelines and really loved everything about them in terms of their growth and just, yeah, such fast growth of an IP from within the crypto space itself, even at stores like Big W and EB Games here in Australia. But I was not expecting an airdrop, but yeah, I was able to get some across the different addresses, again, just for being a legacy sort of on-chain user, really, on Ethereum and Solana. So that was really, really exciting. The Pengu token itself launched at a valuation of around $5 billion US, fully diluted. It's since come down to about 2 billion, early to like 2 to 2.5 billion US, fully diluted. I'm still expecting next year to be like a really strong year for the Pengu token. I think just launching it, like, we can explain why for members, and we don't have to really get into it here. We got a few more altcoin updates, but I think for various reasons, I'm really excited about what the future holds for Pengu. I think initially the market may confuse it for it being just simply a meme coin, but I fully expect there to be more utility added to the Pengu token, in the future. Again, that's just speculation, but from connecting the dots from what I've been hearing, which is all public information, I expect, Pengu to be sort of re-rated and actually the market not confusing it for a meme coin, but let's see what happens.
Yeah, and also I feel like it's kind of L1 season that's heating up now, to be honest. I'm seeing a lot of announcements on the layer one blockchain front, as we spoke about, on the top of the pod, with the likes of Avalanche having its Avalanche 9000 upgrade. Now we got Monad, which is probably one of the new layer one blockchains that's yet to launch. Really surprised that they've kind of been slow going. And in my mind, I was a bit concerned that maybe they were waiting it too long into the bull market to get going. They launched the Monad Foundation and rebrand, I think, the core development team building out that used to be called Monad Labs, that's building out this blockchain. And they also shared details of its testnet that's ongoing. So I fully expect there to be an airdrop sometime in 2025. And Monad, it really depends how Sui and Solana ecosystems go, Matt, because I'm seeing a lot of people get into Sui, thinking it's the next Solana, fully expecting then if we see Sui start to get repriced higher, maybe it reaches those gains and the maybe the risk and reward isn't there, that we're probably going to see more people maybe flood to Monad to try to catch the next Sui kind of narrative. Is that how you would be seeing it, Matt, or is that slightly too simplistic?
No, I think in bull markets, that sort of mindset is accurate, really. There's always people looking for the next thing, thinking that they've missed out on whatever the hot thing is. So I think Ethereum was a classic example of that last cycle, where people sort of felt like they missed it going from $80 to around 4,000. So people then speculated on things like Avalanche, Polygon, BNB, Near Protocol, Phantom, even Solana as well, and probably many others like Terra. It was, again, the big narrative was Ethereum can't scale in the short term. So therefore, all these things are going to get really popular. As we know, really only Solana, arguably Avalanche is still hanging in there as well, and some others. So that sort of mindset of what's the next hot thing, I think will continue. We've even seen it in the last month or so with Hyperliquid sort of, I think, being a big factor why Solana is really seemingly decelerated a bit, some of its growth and price action, certainly, with Hyperliquid also, really coming as a competitor as well. So Monad and Berachain, really the biggest ones in the foreseeable future to launch. Mega ETH, probably a bit later next year. I think Initia, I'm seeing people also excited about, and I'm sure there'll be, a few other ones as well.
Well, speaking on Hype, I saw Hype, which is the native token on Hyperliquid, which is a new L1, really started off as that derivatives exchange. They've soared into the top 20, and really it's one of the best examples of the token really increasing post-token launch. It had a really small dip, I think, after the token generation event, but after that airdrop, it's just continually to be up and to the right. So we're really excited to see, I guess, how high Hype can go. Really curious to see whether it's the reason why Solana has experienced a bit of weakness in the latest weeks, just because of how much attention has been on hype, and whether that's going to be the new L1 blockchain to really become the new Solana of the cycle, as we just talked about. Monad potentially trying to take that into 2025. I haven't used hype myself, to be honest, as I'm not really in the trading mindset, but from everything that I'm hearing, the product seems very, it's probably a good example of creating a good product first rather than creating a token first, which a lot of crypto, companies and projects can tend to do. But, big one here, and really excited to see how we go there. Phantom, another one here, Matt. I saw they did their upgrade for their Phantom tokens, because now they're going to become, I think, the Sonic blockchain with that. I think it's just an S ticker there. So Sonic Labs launched the mainnet this week. Any thoughts on Sonic there, Matt? I know Phantom was a big one you talked about in 2021, with people trying to get the, narrative of the next L1, the next Ethereum.
Yeah, I guess I might be naive. To be honest, I haven't really used, Phantom or Sonic much, but from the outside, even if it is DeFi focused, my mind straight away just asks the question of, is it materially, distinguished enough from other smart contract chains that are even general purpose, but even have a lot more prominent of a DeFi ecosystem. So even all the Ethereum L2s, Solana's DeFi ecosystem is much, bigger. Even Say has that sort of rooted in DeFi. I think they're going a bit more general purpose these days. Sui building out a DeFi landscape. So, does Sonic have enough novel applications to really, cut through all that competition? I'm skeptical, but again, admittedly, haven't really used it much, but I don't really see it having a long-term sort of standing in the market, to give you my sort of initial take.
Yeah, probably similar to my thought, to be honest there, Matt. I come back to why you would want to probably use Sonic or Phantom, even though they're probably Sonic's, kind of sharing a lot of these TPS metrics that look kind of nice on paper, but at the end of the day, that's not just unique to Sonic and the mainnet. That's really, obvious to things like Monad, Sui, even Solana is really building up, and a lot of development coming 2025. So I just asked if, why you would use that and not Solana really for DeFi. And I haven't really gotten a good answer yet. So that leads me to believe that, hey, this could be just a bull market capitalization, maybe, and a rebrand, trying to stir up more attention and marketing, rather than anything fundamental that could keep, Sonic mainnet, to take any of the lead away from Solana. I'll be very, very surprised to see it still be relevant in, the next bull market.
So yeah, I think the Sonic upgrade has been coming for 18 months or so. So it's potentially, really, a big step change in how blockchains perform and how you can interact with them, how quick they are, and their performance. But I suppose best way to know is by actually using it. So we'll see what happens with Sonic moving forward. And really, just to wrap up our altcoin section, we have speculation about Open Sea launching a token. They similarly, like Monad, actually launched a foundation. This one sort of registered in Cayman Islands, so that's the Open Sea Foundation. Why would you do that after being a company domiciled in the US for 6 or 7 years now? After there's actually been a favorable sort of, election result. The answer to why you would do that, there isn't really that many other than, hey, you're preparing to launch an actual token. So that's really, driven speculation rampant. We've seen NFT volumes and NFT activity going through OpenSea really has picked up at the same time as that speculation's grown. So we'll see if anything comes of that. And that sort of, I guess, brings me to something I'm looking forward to, knowing that it is the week of Christmas. I don't know, I really do expect there to be some big announcement on Christmas Day from any project. I think OpenSea is one of them that I have as a candidate. Probably the other one I have is Berachain, launching on mainnet. I just think they've been coming very, very soon for what feels like a few months now. So if it's not one of them, I would expect one project to have a big crack at doing a really significant announcement on Christmas Day. That has certainly happened in the past, and I think the bull market and just the timing of everything would work really well. So yeah, we'll see. We may come back to that and see what was announced on Christmas Day, if anything.
Yeah, I'm keen to see if there's going to be a big airdrop that tends to happen maybe every Christmas. There's always a project that does a Christmas stimmy check for the crypto crowd. So I'm not sure who it is. I saw Pump.Fund co-founder denied that they'll be doing an airdrop on Christmas. So maybe Pump maybe come in 2025, but who knows? We have to report back in 2025 on if that did happen.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, in terms of underappreciated or overappreciated for the past week, the one I want to share, which could even be related to what we were just saying, is DeFi Llama. I feel like every time I go on this website, there's like a new awesome feature. And that was the case when I went on over the weekend, where they always have had this tokenless protocols that may airdrop page, but they now, I'm not sure if this was always the case, but I can't remember ever seeing it. I saw the account of DeFi Llama tweet out that they now have the ability to paste your Solana or Ethereum addresses into their own airdrop checker, which is a really big benefit in terms of security. Like, you don't actually have to connect your wallet to DeFi Llama's airdrop checker. You can literally just paste in your Ethereum address or Solana address, and it will tell you of the airdrops that they've integrated with, which they're doing a lot because it's DeFi Llama and they've got such a big team now. You'll be able to see if you qualify for any airdrop. So yeah, if you've got any time over the break to get into all your crypto stuff, do a bit of housekeeping, I certainly would recommend heading to DeFi Llama's website there and finding the airdrops checker.
That's a really good one there, Matt. Probably my pet peeve with these airdrops is when you've got to try and connect your wallet to some of these networks that you may not trust, when you don't even know whether you're going to get the airdrop yourself. So a really good one. I think that was in the last month or so that they've really doubled down on it. So really good one, and shout out there. My shout out, we have to go Undervalued for the Pantera Capital 2024 recap letter. So they do, I think it's a monthly or quarterly letter actually, which is one of my favorite things to read, to be honest. They do a lot of great analysis on the sector and the industry, and they have this really good altcoin market share versus total crypto market cap chart where they approach the market in two phases, really. Phase one is the Bitcoin dominance growth that really leads the market. Then the phase two, we see altcoins start to catch up and do that outperformance late in the cycle in what a lot of people will call an altcoin season. So we've seen that 2 times in the past. Of course, there's only been a few halvings and market cycles since 2009, and now we're gearing up to that 4th real one, or the 3rd real altcoin season. And their chart here gives us an update that, hey, we're still tracking very nicely, and we've reached that big Bitcoin dominance increase that we've seen in years past. And now they're kind of looking forward to 2025 as the year that we perhaps see redistribution or focus back on this altcoin season. And the question will be, of course, how long will it last? Will it be shorter, longer, or a very similar length? As we can see in the chart here, they're actually quite close together, and there hasn't been a lot of difference really in the grand scheme of things. So I'm really anticipating this to happen sometime next year, and we have to really look forward to seeing if the cycle continues.
Yeah, certainly there. Exciting times in the crypto space, and stay tuned. I think next week we've got our 2024 recap, so we'll have a couple of weeks off from recording our podcast. So we'll have our 2024 recap, which we're going to record soon. That will be coming out next week, and then the first week, I think the week starting, Monday, the 6th of Jan, we won't be publishing any podcasts that week, but we'll be back on the following week. So yeah, looking forward to seeing what's happened in the crypto markets over the break and helping you make sense of it all. But until then, that is a wrap for this week. If you are looking for more insights, see our revamped weekly Shift newsletter, providing free weekly market insights every Friday. Subscribe at collectiveshift.io/newsletter. That's collectiveshift.io/newsletter.